It's Thursday, January 13. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. In July of 2020, the Education Transformation Commission was launched. Headed by Professor Orlando Patterson, the commission was tasked with reviewing and assessing the country's public education system and making recommendations. Thursday saw the virtual launch of the Education Commission report. Marlon Samuels has that report.
The review of Jamaica's public education system was culled from data collected over a 20-year period. It touched on all levels of learning from early childhood to tertiary. Commission Chairman and Professor of Sociology at Harvard University, Professor Orlando Patterson, presented a grim picture of the state of education in Jamaica.
It's best reflected in the results of the 2019 primary exit profile results. A majority of students at the end of primary school remain illiterate and innumerate, and most are leaving secondary schools with no marketable skills. In more detail, the PP 2019 results show that almost 60% of students were failing in mathematics, that only 33%, could not read, that 56% couldn't write or barely scratch out a sentence, that in what's called research, which is just the ability to identify what is the main topic in a sentence, in a simple sentence, almost 60% could not find what the topic is.
Many recommendations were put forward. Among them, the strengthening of accountability within school administrations. Another is for an overhauling of the way that teachers are trained and how they teach. For his part, Prime Minister Andrew Holness echoed that Jamaica's current education iteration is in urgent need of transformation to meet a changing, digitized world.
So now that we have the Commission's report, what are the next steps? The Ministry of Education will develop a detailed plan for implementation of the recommendations with timelines. The ministry has to be responsible for the implementation. As far as possible, we must use the existing resources within the ministry, and where there are capacity gaps, we must build capacity to address those gaps.
For the news on PBCJ, I'm Carol Francis.
42,311 students in primary and secondary schools are set to receive learning devices. Education and Youth Minister Favour Williams says the devices will be procured through e-Learning Jamaica Limited. The vision of e-learning is to transform national learning outcomes using information and communication technologies.
And e-Learning Jamaica Limited has already procured 11,500 tablets and is presently preparing to start the distribution to lower secondary school students in the rural schools across the island.
Minister Williams was speaking during the sitting of the House of Representatives on Tuesday. She notes the blended approach to learning with face-to-face classes, online classes, and audio-visual lessons via the Public Broadcasting Corporation of Jamaica, the PBCJ.
One channel focuses on offering live and recorded lessons for primary, and the others focused on secondary school students. We continue to publish the timetable so students can know what is coming on when. We've coupled this with the ability for the students to ask questions and have some interaction with the teachers who are offering live lessons on these two TV channels. The ministry's YouTube channel will continue to carry content for all levels. All our children should be able to have access to the learning that is being delivered on at least one of the various platforms.
Minister Williams says the government is working to connect schools to the internet.
We continue to respond to the crisis brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic And so we've been working assiduously with the Ministry of Science, Energy and Technology, the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation to develop an affordable and robust approach to the provisioning of adequate internet connectivity to all public schools. This will ensure equity and inclusion with a special focus on students in remote areas with limited access to the internet.
Jamaica's tourism workers pension scheme was launched on Wednesday. Speaking at the launch, Portfolio Minister Edmund Bartlett said it was a first for Jamaica as, quote, there is no other country in the world that has a comprehensive tourism workers pension plan. End quote. The pension scheme was rolled out with Guardian Life as fund administrators and Sagicor Group Jamaica as fund manager. More than half of the $1 billion seed money is being provided by the government. Tourism sector workers now aged 59 will get the full $200,000 a year pension payout when they retire at 65. Participants in the plan are protected by state legislation, with the Financial Services Commission managing the surveillance and regulatory framework to safeguard against breaches and unscrupulous behavior. Also, a tourism worker is to be included on the TWPS Board of Trustees. Wednesday was a busy one for the Kingston Wharves Limited. The company unveiled its mobile harbour crane, commissioned the redevelopment of Berth 7, and broke ground for an integrated logistics warehouse complex on Ashenheim Road. Prime Minister Andrew Holness was on hand for the activities. He remarked that these 3 new investment initiatives will total $60 million and will position Jamaica as the maritime and logistics center of the Americas. Kingston Wharves Limited is considered the region's leading multi-purpose port terminal operator, connecting Jamaica's imports and exports to over 45 international ports in the Caribbean, Latin, and North America. Members of the public are being reminded that if they develop mild flu-like symptoms, they are to remain at home and monitor themselves while observing the infection prevention and control measures. Chief Medical Officer within the Ministry of Health and Wellness, Dr. Jacqueline Bessessa McKenzie, says if symptoms worsen or persist beyond 3 days, then medical advice should be sought from a private doctor, a health center, or the parish health department.
Persons may be advised to do a COVID-19 test. This can be done privately or in the public health system by referral. A list of public health testing sites is available on the Ministry of Health and Wellness's website. Persons with severe symptoms should seek immediate medical attention. All persons are encouraged to frequently wash their hands, wear a mask, get vaccinated. If you are due a booster, take the booster. Observe physical distancing. Avoid crowded spaces. Stay hydrated, exercise regularly, and eat healthy so that you can protect yourselves and fight COVID-19.
Jamaican reggae singer Secatur Alcock, more popularly known as Jacor, is to return to court in the Netherlands on March 8. He was remanded following his court appearance on Wednesday. He is set to go to trial for attempted murder following the stabbing of a concert promoter, Ricardo Papa Blake, in Dam Square, Amsterdam on October 1. Motorists will get some ease at the pumps this week as both gas and diesel prices have seen reductions. We get this and other key market details and insights from Gabriel Thompson in the Business Report.
According to the latest ex-refinery costs from Petrojam, effective Thursday, January 13, motorists should pay less at the pumps for gasoline but more for diesel. 87 and 90 octane gasoline are both down by $1.30 and will be sold for $166.12 and $171.59 per liter respectively. Automotive diesel fuel will be sold for $165.48 per liter, following an increase of $3.06. Ultra-low sulfur diesel is also up by $3.06 and will be sold for $171.49 per liter. Meanwhile, kerosene saw a $3.06 increase and will be sold for $141.87 per liter. Propane liquid petroleum will be sold for $72.39 per liter, up by $1.65, and butane liquid petroleum will be sold for $83.33 per liter, after an increase of $2.74. Be on the lookout for price changes as marketing companies and retailers will add their markup to these prices. In foreign exchange trading for Wednesday, January 12, the US dollar sold for an average $155.38. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $123.79. The pound sterling traded for $211.28, and the euro sold for an average $177.82. In Wednesday's trading session, the following reflect the movement of the JSE indices. The JSE index advanced by 3,210 points to close at over 400,000 units. The junior market index advanced by 19 points to close at over 3,000 units. The JSE combined market index advanced by 3,112 points to close at over 400,000 units. The JSE All Jamaican Composite Index advanced by 2,908 points to close at over 400,000 units. The JSE Financial Index advanced by 0.99 points to close at over 98 units. The JSE Manufacturing and Distribution Index advanced by 0.09 points to close at over 100 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 95 stocks, of which 43 advanced, 31 declined, and 21 traded firm. Stocks advanced for Access Financial Services Limited, AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited, and CAC 2000 Limited. Stocks declined for 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, 1834 Investments Limited, and Burrito Investments Limited. Trading firm were CAC 2000 9.5% preference shares, Cargo Handlers Limited, and Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances Limited. Sagicor Select Funds Limited Financial was the volume leader with over 4 million units, followed by Lasco Manufacturing Limited with over 3.4 million units, and Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited with over 2.2 million units. In market data for oil prices steadied near 2-month highs on Thursday, with Brent crude trading near $85 a barrel, buoyed by expectations that a strong economic recovery will boost demand, but rising U.S. inventories and high inflation capped gains. Brent crude futures gained 15 cents or 0.2% to $84.82 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude futures were up 3 cents to $82.67 a barrel. And with that, we close this Thursday edition of the Business Report inside the news on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson. Pleasant viewing.
Here are some of the stories making highlights across the region. COVID-19 rapid antigen test kits have been approved for sale in Trinidad and Tobago by the Chemistry, Food and Drugs Division in the Ministry of Health. This was confirmed by the country's Health Minister, Terence Dalsing, during a recent COVID-19 update.
Confirmed today by Line Minister Terence Dalsing during the ministry's COVID-19 update. On Tuesday, there were reports that head of the Pharmacy Board, Andrew Rahman, said he had no idea that pharmacies were given the green light to sell COVID-19 home testing kits. Today, the minister said the requisite approval had been granted. Last week, Minister Dalsing said home testing kits would soon come to Trinidad and Tobago, and importers could apply to the Chemistry, Food and Drugs Division to bring them in.
Information is that Chemistry, Food and Drugs has in fact approved rapid antigen tests maybe a week or two ago. So if it's that rapid antigen test, it is legal for sale. So that's the information I can give you at this point in time.
He said although the antigen tests offer the advantage of affordability and convenience, the gold standard for COVID-19 testing remains PCR testing.
But there is a place for rapid antigen testing. However, the advantages of rapid antigen testing is one, price, it's relatively cheap. Two, it's quick. But what you get for that, you sacrifice in accuracy. And what we ask people to do, especially if you get a negative because they are prone to false negatives, is that you follow it up with a PCR.
Still in Trinidad and Tobago, days before the government's new safe zone measure takes effect, a group of people staged an anti-vaccination march in South Trinidad. The group is saying no to the looming change. Terrian Brown Campbell has the details.
No to mandatory vaccines was the chant of a group of protesters in San Fernando on Wednesday. The group walked from Harris Promenade and along High Street, sharing their views on the matter, saying it is important for others to know how they feel. From mid-January, government workers will have to be fully vaccinated to be allowed to enter their workplaces. However, the members of this organization say they are against it.
No to mandatory vaccination. Now, I am not anti-vax, I am pro-choice. We here are pro-choice because there are some people here that are fully vaccinated, but nobody should be bullied to take this vaccine. We say no to that, no to that.
As the group marched through the southern city, Ms. Hamilton explained there are many like her who hold a similar view.
The second you tell somebody that if you do not take a vaccine, you can't have a job, listen to me, that is the beginning of problems. That is telling people, listen to me, I'm holding you at a ransom, at gunpoint, and the gunpoint is money.
Another group member adds that she had an adverse reaction when she received the vaccine.
I received Johnson & Johnson on the 21st of December, and by the 22nd of December, I've seen stress. I've had internal bleeding. Last week, I could not hear in my right ear. I'm still getting problems in my right ear. My jaw couldn't open, so I didn't eat for the week.
She shared that since then, she has been admitted to the ear, nose and throat clinic, along with the urology clinic at the San Fernando General Hospital, where she receives treatment. Terrian Brown Campbell, TTT News.
Over now to election coverage in Barbados. It was a smooth day of voting at polling stations across the country as police officers and other election day workers cast their ballots ahead of the January 19 poll. Barbados Today tells us more about the voting process and comments made along the campaign trail.
From as early as 7 a.m., polling stations across the island's 30 constituencies were open to facilitate the process. A roving Barbados Today team visited several polling stations on the western side of the island, and presiding officers said there were no hiccups.
So far it has been going fairly easy. Obviously we have a little difference because of the COVID protocols and stuff, but voting has been steady so far. We have 89 people on our register, and so far we have 29 who have voted. We have 10 males and 18 females so far.
We did have about 5 or 6 persons waiting at 7 when we started. It's been a steady flow so far. We haven't had 5 minutes where there wasn't somebody inside the station, but with COVID and the need to sanitize and take the temperature, it tends to make the lag time in between registrants that much seamless.
Okay, and in terms now of how many persons do you have on your books to vote today? How many have come out so far?
We have 154 odd electoral officers that will be voting today.
This morning was kind of a quick movement. We had a lot of people coming in, but as we progress, it has slowed considerably. So we're just basically waiting for people to come.
And in terms now of with the COVID-19 protocols, how has it been a long delay or has it slowed down significantly?
Not necessarily, no. Everybody's been quite understanding as they come in to that. They have to follow the protocols. So it's one person at a time into the polling station.
To developments on the campaign trail amid calls for the government to say whether it will continue with an International Monetary Fund program if re-elected, Prime Minister Mia Mottley says her administration will decide on the way forward at the right time.
There is no government that has been more transparent about its dealings with the International Monetary Fund and this government. And when the program finishes, we will do the assessment to see what is needed. But you don't do the assessment before looking at the outturn figures.
On the Democratic Labour Party platform, President Verla de Pisa raised questions about whether the Barbados Labour Party is heading into the January 19 election as a house divided.
Can you imagine? You have 30 seats. Some will say 29 and one in opposition. So I will give that. You have 29 of 30 seats. And you have the temerity to stand and face the people of Barbados and talk about how we are divided. And you need to have unity. And there needs to be one voice. That division will have to be inside your house.
The deputy leader of the Alliance for Progress Party, Lynette Eastman, says her team is on a mission to restore democracy in Barbados and will ensure every citizen has a voice. But she says in order for this to happen, voters must go out and cast their ballots.
And now that we have that right and that privilege, we should not take it for granted. And it is for this reason that I'm asking you, all of you out there, to come out in your numbers. You have a choice in this election. Every election is important, and this one is just as important as any other election. I personally trust Barbadians to always make the right choice. On this occasion, we need to put right what we did in 2018. In 2018, we became so disgusted that we felt that we had to put an end to that government. At this point in time, we need to ensure that in Parliament, we have representatives of not just the traditional parties, but the newer parties that have emerged, such as the Alliance.
In sports, we look at cricket. Legendary West Indies captain Sir Clive Lloyd was on Wednesday formally awarded his knighthood during an investiture ceremony performed by the Duke of Cambridge, Prince William, at Windsor Castle. The 77-year-old was conferred with the knighthood in the Queen's New Year Honours list back in 2020 for his services to cricket, but the ceremony had been abandoned by the onset of the novel coronavirus pandemic. On Wednesday, Sir Clive was joined in the ceremony by England white ball captain Ian Morgan, who was honoured with a Commander of the Order of the British Empire. In a statement, Cricket West Indies President Ricky Skerritt hailed the unifying leadership of Sir Clive's tenure, which was highlighted by the capture of the first two 50-over World Cups in 1975 and 1979 in England. West Indies became the world's most dominant side under Sir Clive, enjoying a famous streak of 27 test matches without defeat, including 11 wins in a row. He successfully molded a side that included the likes of Sir Vivian Richards, Sir Gordon Greenidge, and Sir Andy Roberts. Sir Clive, a left-hander, scored 7,515 from 110 tests and 1,977 runs from 87 one-day internationals in a career that spanned 2 decades. And so we pull up stumps on another newscast. Thanks, as always, for making it PBCJ. We are the People's Station.